of the questions that come up the most often is, are suppressors legal? Usually that isn't how it works if you're in a retail establishment. I ran a gun shop for several years, and we had silencers in the display case, and very often people would walk in and they'd point down and they'd go, oh, those are illegal, aren't they? And, you know, my smart ass reply would always be, no, of course not. We keep the illegal stuff out back. You know, come on, what do you think? Of course they're not illegal. But you can't fault people for being misled by the news and by Hollywood. The fact is, they're considered an NFA firearm, and they're treated just like a machine gun or a destructive device or a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun. Let's make this process of ownership as simple as possible to understand. And we'll use an automobile for an analogy. Just like we use the automobile for an analogy in discussing the type of performance to expect. Open headers, vehicle with a muffler, there's the difference that you can expect in sound. Now when it comes to ownership, when these sound suppressors are manufactured, there's a title that's processed and manufactured for it as well, just like your automobile. When they make the car at GM or Ford or Dodge or wherever, there's a title that's generated. When you purchase it, it's titled to you. And it's the same way with a sound suppressor or a machine gun or any NFA type firearm. The only difference is you have to have possession of the title before you can take possession of the device. With an automobile, you purchase it, send in the title application, and they mail it to you. With the NFA firearm, or sound suppressor in this case, you apply for the title, they transfer the title from whomever you're purchasing it from to you, and as soon as the title is approved, it's rewritten in your name and mailed off, and then you own it. And it's the same way. There are no yearly maintenance fees. There's no special list of 2 in the morning visits that I'm aware of or have ever heard of under normal circumstances. You're not giving up any of your rights, to the Fourth Amendment against illegal search and seizure. It's really no different than purchasing an automobile, and that's as simple as it gets. The transfer fee is $200. That is per transfer. That's just the title fee. There's no yearly maintenance fee or anything like that. One factor that's very, very important when determining what type of performance you're going to get from your suppressed firearm can't be overlooked. It may be the most general, but it's something that people typically don't look at a lot, especially if they're new to suppressors, and that is your choice of ammunition. Now, to illustrate that, in this case, we have one magazine loaded, and the 5 rounds are staggered. We have 5 rounds of 147 grain Federal, which will come out subsonic, followed by 5 rounds of 115 grain Winchester, followed by 5 rounds of 147 grain Federal, followed by 5 rounds of 115 grain Winchester, and so on until it's empty. This is going to give you an opportunity to hear the difference between the subsonic and the supersonic. And with a platform like this, it's going to be noticeable, but it won't be anywhere near as noticeable as with a pistol. And we'll explain why later, but let's show you the difference between both right now. Again, we're starting with 147 grain subsonic for 5 rounds, and when you hear it kick up, we're into the 115 grain stuff. That was the subsonic. Now we'll get into the standard 115 grain. That supersonic crack is very, very apparent. Although the noise difference here at the shooter isn't that great, downrange it's a big, big difference. Now we're back into the subsonic ammo. And supersonic. And subsonic one more time. I actually had 6 rounds of that supersonic in a row once. Got to learn to count, but I think you get the idea. For the pistol test, we stacked the magazine the same way. This time we went in 3-round increments instead of 5 because we don't have the capacity. We have 3 rounds of S&B 115 grain, followed by 3 rounds of Federal 147 grain, followed by 3 rounds of S&B 115, followed by 3 rounds of Federal 147, and so on and so forth, just like we did last time. And there'll be a noticeable difference on this one as well. So check it out. The first is the supersonic, the 115 grain. The suppressor that we're using, again, is the Silencer Co. Osprey. The platform is Glock 17. Amazing difference, isn't it? Let's finish this up. Absolutely wonderful. Let's discuss safety a little bit where it relates to the use of a sound suppressor. Now, we have safety rules that we always follow. We always wear our eyes, we always wear hearing protection, as well as the standard gun rules of safety. You never load the firearm until you're ready to use it, you always have it pointed in a safe direction, and you never have your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Now, we don't break any of those rules, and that lessens the likelihood that we're going to have any problems. However, you're going to notice with these suppressor videos, I don't have any hearing protection. I haven't used them since we started with the suppressor shooting. And that's not because I want to be a scofflaw or a rule breaker or get negative comments from doing gun reviews. It's because it's not necessary anymore. All the suppressors that we fired are well below the threshold of pain, and they're all well below the threshold of damage. The noise that you hear with the supersonic rounds is happening, you know, way down range, or it's happening away from the shooter anyway, and it's very much a safe distance from the shooter. Now, the rule that is absolutely, completely, 100% mandatory at all times in a recreational setting, and preferably any setting, eye protection. Now, with suppressors especially, the back pressure is increased in the firearm by the use of a suppressor. Just like our analogy we've used several times with a muffler. Your back pressure is increased when you use a muffler. And what that translates to is more gas and the potential for more debris coming from any of the open areas during the firing. And you can feel it. You can feel things touching your face with a suppressor that you typically wouldn't with an unsuppressed firearm. So make sure you have some good glasses, not just ones that you think look cool, but some that are actually safety glasses, and wear them all the time. I've seen some pretty bad accidents happen with firearms, and fortunately every person was wearing their safety glasses. By the way, if you're curious about the gun that we've been shooting, this right here was a LSC receiver flat. Nothing but a receiver flat. And we did an article for Small Arms Review magazine where we bent a receiver flat up and took apart an old MP5 parts kit and rebuilt it into a short-barreled rifle. And the finish might look funny, but if you can see the detail, I have no idea if you can or not, it's actually a really neat pattern of skulls, and it almost looks like it's airbrushed on there. The suppressor is the same, the magazines are the same, everything was marked the same. And this was a project that I allowed my son to pick the finish out on. He's 8 years old, he likes skulls, and one of our friends in Florida, Hydro Printing Services, does hydro printing, dip printing. And since we needed to finish the gun anyway after a complete build, we sent it down there and we paid to have this finish done. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate the views and the subscriptions. We hope that you're enjoying the videos. By the way, the subscriptions are rising. It looks like some of you are. We very much appreciate your patience while we're learning how to do this. Been an old writer for a long time, but being a video guy, it's not my thing yet. But I promise I'm working to get better at it. So if you like the videos, subscribe to the channel and ask that your friends do the same, and keep checking back, man. We've got some really neat projects coming up in the very near future. Take care. Welcome to my world.